All right. Y'all, today we are starting the autoimmune disease series number 7, which is really exciting because we're breaking into the second phase of this. So the first phase was all about how the immune system works, different herbs we can use for um, altering the immune system, how the immune system works with the gut, right? It was all about the adaptive versus um, the other parts of the immune system. And then we got really nerdy with it and really dove into um, some of the cytokine levels, the T cells, and all those little things that the immune system is comprised of, and how it all works together, right? And then how it can help regulate those systems via the herbs that we take, the diet that we have, the exercise that we utilize, right? So really, really awesome. I forgot to hit record on school. So I need to go ahead and do that. Here we are. Okay, we're on school now, recording. Now, if you're on YouTube watching this, go over to our school. The school's in the bottom, right? It's in the bottom. Go to the school. Sorry, it's in the actual description of this video. Click on the school link. It's really awesome. You're able to actually attend the this hangout is what we call it. It's an herb talk. We're going through the series of autoimmune disease right now, but then if you have any questions or anything like that, you can ask them. So really awesome. We do a raffle every single month. So on that raffle, we are able to add you in and we give something away every single month. So the only way to be entered into the raffle is to get on the Herb Talk live. All right, so the people that are joining right now are getting entered into the Herb Talk live. Now we have something really cool that we're going to be giving away for this Herb Talk, and it's something I've been doing for years, right? And it was actually Jennifer's idea to give this away, and I thought it was a pretty cool idea. I was thinking about giving away the gut protocol, but a lot of people have already bought in the gut protocol, even though it's, good to have for other people in your life as well. I decided to go a different route with it. Now, this is something that you should be adding into your daily regimen always, right? Especially if you're eating really clean. This is something that you should be adding into your food, something you should be adding into your water, that is going to keep you in optimal functioning state, hydrated, but as well, um, it's going to just give you all the different minerals that you need. And that is this gourmet salt that I've mixed. And it is a gourmet salt. It has a bunch of different salts from all over the world. I really like mixing salts. You get a much better flavor out of it. So this is packed, right? This is a lot of salt. This should last you like 6 months right here, right? And it's got a demoisturizing packet in there as well. So just to help it stay drier, right? Because salt likes to absorb water. But if you notice, it's like all sorts of different colors, right? It's got black in there, pink, red. It's got a little bit of blue tints in it. Um, it's really cool. These salts, there is a black lava salt in it, right? So, which is comprised of different minerals. There's a blue salt that's in this, that's comprised of different minerals. There is a red salt that has like a red clay mineral content to it, right? So there's different, and there's pink Himalayan salt as well in this, right? So it's a really cool salt to use because it not only does it have all of the trace minerals and some specialty compounds and specialty trace minerals in each one. Um, it tastes fantastic. It's a gourmet salt, right? So this is what you would think like a five-star restaurant would use, right? So um, it makes all your food taste better, but also a little pinch of this in your water and shake your water up. Perfect for hydration, and it makes it feel softer in your mouth. Um, much, much better. Gonna add Sarah into the drawing for the specialty mixed salt. So really awesome. I've got a bunch of jars of it. I make like a whole bunch of this and we use it throughout the year. Um, I used to do it. What's that? If we don't win, we'll buy some from you. Okay. Yeah, it's I used to collect a bunch of different salts and I haven't got to do it in a while, but I did one. Jennifer really liked it, so I went ahead and bought a whole bunch more and mixed up a bunch of jars. So, but it's really good stuff. Really good stuff.
Is it kind of like the salts that's in like the salt packets?
No, this is way better.
Oh, okay. Girls watch it with me.
Oh, awesome. So I got you in the drawing, Sarah, so you have a chance to win it. So really, really awesome. You put a pinch in your water, you use it on your food. Salt is not the enemy. Salt is not the enemy. Salt is not the enemy. I can't say that enough. The doctor will tell you all day long to limit your salts, but what he really means is limit your processed foods. Because it has the iodized, chemically synthetic bullcrap that they put into the market and into everybody's foods. It's really, really bad for you. This salt is not bad for you. And when you are dehydrated, when you um, have any major issue or blood volume or anything, what do they do? What do they give you? They give you a saline bag, a synthetic salt directly pumped into your blood. But then tell you don't take salt. Salt's bad. Um, it's crazy to me the irony of it, but that's what they do, you know. So salt's not bad. It's good. People who increase their salt intake, especially a sea salt intake, um, have significantly decreased effects on or a significantly decreased risk of cardiovascular issues. So salt is not the problem. And we have to start understanding where the problem really lies, right? Um, but I digress. Let's jump into the autoimmune disease stuff today. This is a kind of a short one because we're focusing on genetics today, but it's more of like the introduction into some of the genetic factors and genetic things. Um, this is phase 2 of the series, which is really awesome. We've gotten all the way through phase 1, which was all about immunity, how the immune system works, herbs that help it, diet that helps it, breath work that helps it, um, all of those things, right? So, you know, I don't know if I said exercise, but exercise that helps calm your nervous system, getting your gut right, changing that whole immune system over to parasympathetic nervous system versus sympathetic nervous system, which calms your immunity, calms your digestive tract, calms everything down so that you're functioning in a repair rest state more often than not, right? The sympathetic stuff is definitely um, the sympathetic stuff is definitely a or the sympathetic nervous system is sorry, somebody requested to join, so I was doing that. I got distracted. But the sympathetic nervous system is definitely necessary, right? It's necessary in very specific instances. We just don't want to operate in that mode full time, right? So we don't want to operate in that mode full time. We want to operate in a mode that is best and beneficial for us to be able to rest and repair most of the time, right? So, and here's the cool thing about genetics, right? Everybody thinks that genetics are set in stone, right? And yeah, 15% of your genetics are set in stone, but 85% of your genetics can be changed, right? They can be changed. They can be altered in some way, shape, or form. Not like completely rewritten in the code, right? But they can be dormant or they can be expressed. They can be ramped up or they can be rolled down, right? So there are different ways to express genetics, and that's all based off your environment. Genetics do not determine destiny, right? But they do influence susceptibility. So the concept that um, genetics, they load the gun while the environment pulls the trigger, reflects how autoimmune disease develops, right? So a person may carry certain genetic variants that increase your risk, but without the right environmental triggers, those genes never have to be expressed in the first place, right? They never have to be expressed in a harmful way. Many of the genes associated with autoimmune disease are involved in how the immune system recognizes threats. So, and how it regulates itself and how it communicates through inflammatory signaling, right? And we've gone over some of those inflammatory signals and stuff. So the HLA genes, the human leukocyte antigen genes, are some of the most important in this context, right? So these genes control how the immune system presents antigens to T cells. So in other words, they help determine the immune system, how the immune system identifies foreign versus self, right? Um, so specific variants of HLA genes are strongly associated with particular autoimmune diseases. So HLA DR3 and DR4 are linked to conditions such as rheumatoid arthritis and type 1 diabetes and lupus, right? HLA B27 is associated with ankylosing spondylitis, all right? That one's a fun one to say. HLA DQ2 and DQ8 are closely tied to celiac disease and your response to gluten there. These gene variants can increase the likelihood that the immune system will misidentify certain proteins, especially when triggered by environmental factors. Really, when triggered by environmental factors, right? Then none of it happens on its own. There has to be environmental factors that trigger it. PTPN22 is another important gene involved in immune regulation. It affects T cell signaling, particularly how T cells are activated and how strongly they respond. So variants in this gene can lead to overactive immune responses or reduced ability to properly regulate activation. So this has been linked to conditions such as rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, and type 1 diabetes as well. So CTLA4 plays a critical role in controlling T cell activation. It acts like a kind of like a braking system in the immune system, right? So it's there to prevent excess activation, which is really critical. When this function is impaired, it uh, it may become overactive or less regulated, or T cells can become overactive or less regulated, which is a really big deal with thyroid issues, right? So Hashimoto's, Graves' disease, those genes are very, very um, particular for that as well, and type 1 diabetes as well. IRF, or interferon regulatory factor 5, is involved in the production of interferons and other inflammatory signals. All right, so interferons are important for anti everything defense, right? So, but when overproduced, they can contribute to chronic inflammation and autoimmunity. Variants in IRF5 are strongly associated with lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, where interferon signaling is often elevated. STAT4, STAT4, is another gene involved in cytokine signaling. So you'll notice when we go through this, there's about five or six um, groups of genes, right? So they fall under the very similar category, right? 5 or 6 groups of genes that are mostly associated with autoimmune disease. Normally, a lot of people have these genes and in this realm, but they're not overactive or underactive or expressed or dormant. It's our environmental factors that bring them out. Toxic factors, stress factors, those sort of things. Stuff we talked about in our triggers segment a few episodes ago. So what you'll find is we're going through these. We're talking about the main ones that are linked to this. But what you find is every autoimmune disease person has stacked the expression of one or more of these genes, right? If you have 1 or 2 of these that are expressed in the wrong way, it's not going to cause super major issues. You might have minor effects of it, but if you have expressed 3 or more of these genes, you most likely are diagnosed or will be diagnosed with autoimmune disease if you go to a doctor. Because otherwise you don't have autoimmune disease, right? Because it's only if the doctor says you do. I digress. But you could stay away from the doctor and you'll never have anything wrong with you, right? Because they'll never be able to diagnose you. No, it's important to know what's going on. Obviously, if you know that you feel bad or whatnot, and you have very specific things you can point out and say, this is not good. It's nice to know what's going on. That's where doctors excel over a lot of herbalist or natural medicine types, is that they have the facilities, they have the diagnosing technology and all that stuff. Herbalism has it too. It's just the problem with diagnosing somebody, it's illegal, right? So you can get thrown in jail for it if you're an herbalist. So we have to be very careful about how we do it, right? They push heavily against us for dealing with the conditions that we should be dealing with on a regular basis, whereas medical industry should have no part in, right? So anyways, STAT4 is another gene involved in cytokine signaling. It influences how immune cells respond to signals that promote inflammation. So particularly those in Th1 and Th17 pathways. We've talked about this a little bit before in the immune system, but variants in STAT4 can lead to increased inflammatory responses and are associated with conditions such as lupus, arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and Sjogren's syndrome. IL 230 or 23R, 23R, IL-23R can influence susceptibility to disease such as inflammatory bowel disease, so IBD, and psoriasis, right, and ankylosing spondylitis. So you're noticing some of them have multiple genes in here that they are associated with. That's because you normally have to have a bunch of them stacked up to really get that symptom. This is why autoimmune disease is expressed in different ways, right? Because these different factors, when combined, they have a whole bunch of different combinations of how you're expressing them, or how the intensity of that you express it, which intensifies or changes the way that it's expressed in your body through all of the side, or the you know, the stuff that's happening. I don't, the word for it, I don't even know. Um, my brain's not working. Um, but uh, so all of the different, gosh dang, I don't, what is the word? What happens to you when, I don't even know. I'm don't know where the word is. Anyways, what is important to understand is that these genes primarily affect how the immune system behaves, right? So how it recognizes targets, how strongly it responds, how well it regulates itself, and they create a predisposition toward imbalance, right? We always want balance. Balance is the goal. Um, but they do not act alone, right? So just because the genes are there doesn't mean they're being expressed fully. Doesn't mean that they are um, dormant if they don't need to be dormant, right? Doesn't mean, you know, all these things. And the reason that we have genetics that shift and change, and the reason we have epigenetics is so that we have adaptability in circumstances, right? It's important for us to have adaptability. Otherwise, any bit of cold change or heat change or anything like that, we just kill over because our bodies wouldn't handle it. So, any type of change, diet change, any environmental change, we're able to live all the way across the world in every circumstance because we have adaptability of genes. We have epigenetics. Super important. God designed us to be able to walk this earth and live in any environment, right? So we're extremely adaptable beings, which is really awesome. If we're not adaptable by our genetics, we're adaptable by what we're able to create to live in different places, which is pretty amazing. Um, so they don't act alone, right? Um, it is a genetic predisposition. It doesn't mean that it's set in stone. Environmental factors such as infections, toxins, diet, stress, gut health influence whether genes are expressed in a way that leads to disease. This is a role of epigenetics, right? So there, where external inputs, and I say external, but also internal inputs, right? External environmental, and then internal environmental inputs determine how genes are turned on or off, right? This is a study that's been going on for more than 50 years now on epigenetics since the 70s, when they learned that genetics could be expressed in multiple different ways, right? They are not set in stone. A lot of it is, but even the way you look, a lot of that can be altered slightly, right? Um, Especially jaw lines and stuff like that. A lot of that's like muscular and everything. But all that stuff. All right, I'm adding you in, Lane. All right. Symptoms. The word was symptoms. That's what I was looking for earlier when I was talking about, I don't know what I was talking about, but that was the word earlier. I don't know why I can't remember symptoms. It's crazy. But um, So having genetic variants associated with autoimmune disease does not mean the condition is inevitable, right? The genes create susceptibility, not certainty. What determines whether those genes are expressed is largely controlled by epigenetics. Epigenetics, I'm going to go over the definition of epigenetics here. Epigenetics refers to the mechanism that turn genes on or off without changing the DNA itself, right? So the DNA, this is the reason they thought DNA was set in stone, right? The DNA is written, it is set in stone, but how you express the DNA is not, and that's what they found out later on. when they stop throwing around the junk, or stop throwing away the junk DNA when they're researching it, the junk DNA is the stuff that surrounds the DNA, and that's what signals the DNA, which is extremely important. So these mechanisms include processes such as DNA methylation and histone modification, which influence how genes are read and expressed, right? The environmental inputs such as diet, stress, toxins, infections, and lifestyle directly affect these processes. This means even someone who carries genes associated in immune dysregulation, those genes may remain inactive or minimally expressed, right? Um, and if the internal and external environment is supportive, they can become dormant or be expressed more to help the immune system, right? So if you provide the right environment, your body heals. It's amazing. Um, and it heals on the genetic level. That's like that should be for everybody, right? Your body can heal on the genetic level, not just, chemically and stuff in your, no, like you can actually rewrite how your DNA is expressed. Pretty freaking awesome. Um, so conversely, though, chronic stressors and inflammation can activate pathways that promote disease expression. So there's two sides to the coin. One of the key pathways involved in inflammatory gene expression is the NFXB, which we've talked about, the transcription factor that controls activation of pro-inflammatory genes, including those that produce cytokines and other immune signaling molecules. NFXB is chronically activated. It contributes to sustained inflammation and immune dysregulation. We've talked about that a few times, and especially different herbs that help with it. Here's another herb that helps with it. We're under the herbs of the week. Um, Holy basil. I know, look, basil's great. I know you guys know what basil is. Holy basil, or Tulsi, has been shown to influence those pathways, those NFXB pathways, right? It acts as an adaptogen, helping regulate the body's response to stress while also modulating inflammatory signaling. So compounds within holy basil help reduce the activation of NFXB, lowering the expression of pro-inflammatory genes. In addition to its effect on inflammation, holy basil supports balance in the nervous system, which indirectly affects gene expression through stress-related pathways. By reducing chronic stress signals, it helps shift internal environment toward one that favors regulation rather than activation of inflammatory genes, right? So another one really good to have on a regular basis that a lot of countries do on a regular basis is green tea. Green tea provides another example of epigenetic influence. And this is just a couple of examples, right? There are so many herbs that work in this area, in this field, like turmeric and boswellic acid, andrographis, those type of herbs that are really awesome. They have nuances that are kind of specific for specific problems, like andrographis being specific for bacterial infections, and turmeric or boswellic acid being very particular for inflammatory issues. So they have very specific uses, but they all have similar actions or pathways that they all use. But epigallocatchan gallate, EGCG. If you've ever looked at a green tea extract, standardized extract, you will see EGCG. A lot of energy drinks out there have this EGCG on the label, right? That's what it is. Epigallocatchin epigallocatechin. It's really weird, but epigallocatechin gallate has been studied for its ability to affect DNA methylation patterns, right? So drinking this on a regular basis can help the methylation of genes, which are one of the primary ways genes are turned on or off. Through these mechanisms, EGCG can influence the expression of genes involved in inflammation, oxidative stress, or cellular protection, right? Um, there's a bunch of herbs out there that do this, but this is one example, and one very easy to get, easy to do on a regular basis. But it has also been shown to interact with signaling pathways that regulate immune responses, right? So helping to reduce excessive inflammatory activity. In addition, green tea provides antioxidant support, which reduces oxidative stress and um, and sorry, let me turn that off so don't do that again. Um, and it further supports cellular environment or acellular environment that promotes balance of gene expression, right? So the concept of the week, and then we'll open it up. This one's a little shorter than the others because we're just going a little bit over epigenetics right now. But the broader concept here is that gene expression is dynamic and responsive to your environment, right? Herbs such as holy basil and compounds like the EGCG demonstrate that it is possible to influence these pathways in a way that supports regulation rather than chronic activation. This reinforces the idea that while genetics may set the stage, it is environment and daily inputs that determine how that genetic potential is expressed, right? Um, there's a lot of genetic testing out there and stuff, and I wanted to talk about one specific, um, but we're actually going to go into it next week. We'll dive a little bit deeper into methylation and stuff. There is a test out there that you can get. It's really great. It's good for everybody to do. It is kind of expensive. The initial testing of it, it's like 500 bucks. But once you know, right? Once you know how you methylate or the lack thereof methylation that you're able to have in your body or express in your body, then you kind of have a lifelong, cool, this is what I need to do to make sure that I'm getting everything I need and my body is expressing itself in the best way possible. But it is a methylation, genetic methylation test, really cool. Um, it can be utilized for the rest of your life. Really, really awesome. So I've never done any genetic testing because I don't want the government to have my genes. But that's just me. So I choose to just try and do the right things, get methylated vitamins, methylated folate, right? We're going to actually talk about that next week. I don't want to go into that now because then we'll go into next week's plan all in one. Because there's a lot to be said around that, right? But anybody got any questions? I'm doing something really cool right now. I'm putting together a store right now with products that we're developing through this series because the gut health, I don't have one on me right now, but the gut health stuff made me realize that there's just not like there's products out there, but it cost me, I don't know, 250 bucks to get all the ingredients just to make the gut health protocol. And I'm like, man, that's just not plausible for everybody to do, right? Just spend 250 bucks. So I'm trying to do it like 30, 35 bucks. But I'm creating a store now where people can actually order it. So, which is really cool. And hopefully we can provide a really good product that will really help people out. Because I just search and search and search, and I can't find something that has everything in it that really helps. And we've gotten some really, really good results from the gut health protocol from people taking it every single day, being consistent with it, and some other herbs and stuff that we've um, recommended for people. And we're starting to get some really good feedback, which is really awesome um, already. So, any questions?
I got a question. Send me how much it is and you can make me some and I'll try it.
Okay, yeah, $30.
Okay, is it safe for Gabriel to take?
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be just as it's gentle, you know, because it's for your gut. Um, but yeah, it's safe for him to take. It's got bone broth in it. I've got the list of ingredients right here. So it's got bone broth, licorice, DGL, so deglycyrrhizinated, um, marshmallow root, slippery elm bark. I put some agave inulin powder in it for prebiotic, vanilla, cinnamon, ginger, and a little bit of stevia. It tastes very similar to I think it tastes really similar to like the milk after you eat Cinnamon Toast Crunch kind of deal. It's kind of what it tastes like to me. It's pretty good. So, but yeah, I can make some. It's good stuff. But it's a 30-day protocol. You take, you know, a teaspoon or tablespoon a day, mix it in water and drink it.
So maybe I should do it for Daniel, me, and Gabriel.
Yeah.
I knew that stuff because there's like a lot of stuff.
Yep. Yep. You got to get your guts right.
Right, look.
A roundabout way, the medical industry, and DNA, and what they've done is they've convinced us that DNA is the
Yeah.
nothing else. DNA, so it's inevitable if you have inherited the disease, and you cannot afford it. So therefore, uh, you are desperate
Yeah.
to.
Like, yes, we have all inherited genes. That doesn't make them bad, you know. What's bad is how we express those genes. Not
The
all,
way you put, like the way to clear things up.
yeah, yeah, they have made it that way so that you don't think that there's any way out, right? And it's just it's crazy to me because and like I said before, I think I said this on the last talk, but everyone is on prescriptions now, or everyone is being pushed to be on prescriptions now. Even just kids are on multiples and multiple prescriptions. They got ones to make them fall asleep, ones to, you know, get them up, and it's like it's crazy to me. It's like drinking coffee and then drinking alcohol at night just to go to sleep. Like, even though that doesn't really work, um, but it's just, you know, constant up, down, all around. And we wonder why we have like stress issues and mental problems and then gut problems. And it's amazing to me how, it's amazing to me how we don't connect it. And I was there too. Like, I didn't connect any of that. Luckily, I got knocked out, you know, literally. Well, I got punched in the face. I was assaulted, and you know, for whatever reason, God had a different plan. And when I woke up out of the hospital, He said, "You need to do something different with your life." And that was when I was 22, I think, but 21 or 22. And luckily, that happened to me. I count that as a huge blessing because otherwise, I would have not woken up and I would have continued, you know, uh, not doing the right things and being completely oblivious. And I'd probably be in a hospital right now because I was headed down that path. So I'm just always having chronic issues. But
You mentioned about DNA, how adaptable our bodies are, and that's a very good point that you brought out. And we know that God designed that on
mhm.
purpose. To be able to do that.
Yeah, everything our bodies do that we count as disease is done on purpose, right? All tumors are there for a purpose. Is there to encapsulate something that shouldn't be there. There's all sorts of things that are done on purpose by our body, and it's to help us survive and to be resilient. Like we are extremely resilient beings. I know this because I see people go into McDonald's and then they come out, right? That's resilience. They willfully poison themselves and then walk out of it just fine. Well, just fine, but they walk out of it, that means we are super resilient. We load ourselves with all sorts of toxins and poisons and expose ourselves to stressful environments and all sorts of heavy metal toxicity and everything. And we still survive, but all of these uncomfortabilities that we have that we call disease are things that our body does to try and protect us a lot of times. Um,
It's funny that you mentioned McDonald's. I sort of chuckled when I read this in the NLT version of the Bible. Isaiah 55:2. I think God knew about Burger King and McDonald's when those two verses were put up, or that verse was put in. But it's hilarious if y'all want to read it. Just think about you have to read it in the New Living Translation version of it so that you can fully fit. It is hilarious. It means, you know,
you said Isaiah 52?
55:2.
55 too. That's after one of my favorite verses in Isaiah 53.
It's great, yeah.
53 talks about Jesus, and if you point it out to, you know, if you read it to anybody who's, Jewish, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's about Jesus," and then you point out that it's actually Isaiah, and they're like, "What? Like, what do you mean?" That's really funny. Isaiah 55 too. I'm saving that. Um, but yeah, yeah, God knew what he was doing for sure. Um, and it amazes you every single day that you dive into the body and how it is and how it functions, that you realize how much of an incredible design it really is. So let me see. I got to get Robert in here so that he's in the drawing. Robert, if you didn't see before, we're giving away this at the end of the month. So since you're in now, you join the Herb Talk. It's a gourmet salt that I mixed up. It's got 5 different salts in it. One of them's a blue crystalline salt that's really cool. And then you have a black lava salt in it, Himalayan pink salt. Uh, I think there's a regular Celtic sea salt in there, and then there's a red Aldean salt. And it derives its redness from like clay minerals and stuff. It's really cool. But yeah, we're giving that away at the end of the month. So 2 more weeks, we'll give that away. But you get an entry into the drawing. Got to put you in here. There we go. Sweet, we've got 11 total entries this month for the drawing. But yeah, it's pretty amazing. I'm actually doing a sermon series right now I'm putting together, called Planted in the True Vine. And it's all about being planted in the Word and where you focus your time and your energy and your effort and what seed you're watering, the seed of sin or the seed of salvation. And one of them I'm doing is called Do You Want to Heal? Like, do you actually want to heal, because when you're healed, that comes with responsibility and knowing, and it comes with on the other side of it, you have to walk differently. You have to be different when you're healed. Just like when you accept salvation, it comes with a knowing and understanding that you have to do something different now. You can't be the same person that you were. You're a new creation. And I use the example of when Jesus walked up to the paralytic man and asked him, "Do you want to be healed?" And it seems like such a ridiculous, obvious question, but I think it was really meant for us as well. But the first thing he said was "Nobody can take me to the pool." And so we come up with all these excuses as to why we can't be healed, um, and why, we can't do things differently, because we know what's on the other side, which is responsibility. Everyone wants to avoid responsibility. And so it's the same way with our health. We want to avoid the responsibility. A lot of people pray for healing all the time, and a lot of it is things that they can do themselves. God's provided everything that we need to heal, and um, and we just don't want to take responsibility and do those things ourselves. A lot of times, a lot of time it's ignorance. We just don't know, And there's a lot of things that I don't know about health, that I'm still learning for sure, and every single day basically. But um, a lot of it is that we just don't want to take the responsibility for it, so we put it off on the experts to take responsibility for us, and that relinquishes any um, any any effects afterwards that if we do something wrong, any negative outcomes basically that we'd have to deal with. So any responsibility afterwards. But yeah, it's important to take responsibility for ourselves and for our individual health and our family's health, for sure. If we have children or grandchildren or people around us that we love. So it's important. More questions for today? We got headed out. Gotcha. Any more questions? Like I said, I'm putting together a store, hopefully to be able to develop these products as we go along, to help people with autoimmune disease. If you have autoimmune disease or need help in that direction, or know somebody that has autoimmune disease, send them to the app. The app, not just the school app, but the app that I developed for autoimmune disease. It's $9 a month for the app, but it has everything they need to understand what they can and can't eat, just give them guidelines and stuff. And if they actually follow that app like on a daily basis, they'll start to see some results, which is really cool. I'm developing another app coinciding to that one, which is a lot more in depth, and it takes you through every single day, and you have to log into it every day. But it has, you know, um, it has basically a physician's notes in there and stuff like that. But you log in different things every day, and it'll alter your experience as you go along. And then I have another app called the Bible Diet, right? This one's really cool. It actually has an AI that's integrated into it that you can ask questions to and stuff. And so I'm trying to develop that AI a little bit better. But it's pretty cool. It's got verses of the day and stuff, but it has meal plans, so you can put together the different meal plans and stuff. If you want to do a fast, it has a fasting deal in here. It's got a 7-day fast and a 21-day Daniel fast. It's got recipes in here with pictures and everything. Really cool. It's in development. I'm trying to It's got intermittent fasting in here, how to do that. And then journaling with all of that, daily devotionals, all that stuff. I'm trying to integrate like a community thing into this as well, into the Bible Diet app, so that we can all get on there as well and share recipes, share all those sort of things. I think community is extremely important, which is why I started this school account. But pretty cool. That one's being developed. It's taking some time because I'm trying to come up with the best way of doing it. But it is pretty cool. It's been developed out right now. But as far as the one app that you can download on Apple right now, I haven't got it on Samsung or Google apps yet, but it is available on Apple. And then you have the online version of it you can go to as well. And then we'll get the Bible Diet for everybody, which would be really cool. But eventually, hopefully, move everybody over into the Bible Diet app, because they'll heal using the other guides. And then once they're in like a maintenance type, or just the best way to eat and live, we'll go to the Bible Diet app, which will basically help you know exactly what you can and can't do, and just have all the different resources at your fingertips. So, which would be really awesome. Trying to combine everything into one rather than having multiple different places, like having to go to Facebook to find people that in your local area that have, goats or cows or pigs that you want to get food from, or, having that in an app where you can find local farmers and stuff like that would be really awesome to get better food, fresh food, that kind of stuff. But also herbal decoction ideas, people sharing recipes, all that kind of stuff is really important. Because there's all sorts of ways to use stuff, and you just don't know until you try. So, and a lot of people are trying a lot of different things and coming up with some really cool stuff. So, but next week we get into the MTHFR gene and methylation stuff, which will be really, really cool. I think it's a lot. Yeah, it's a little bit longer than this one that we did, so it will be fun. Any more questions? Any more questions?